We are moving on to the second session of today, and the second session is going to be handled by Dr. Ganeshan Chanwagavelu. Dr. Ganeshan Chanwagavelu is a senior lecturer in the Department of Educational Studies, Institute of Teacher Education, Hippocampus, Malaysia. He has 28 years experience in the academic field as a teacher and lecturer. He has completed his PhD in Malaysian history, focusing on Malaysian Indians from University of Science, Malaysia, Penang. He has published his research papers in various indexed journals, including Scopus and ISI journals. He has also presented his research papers in various national and international conferences. He has published 15 research articles in indexed journals, which include 2 Scopus and 6 ISI indexed journals. In 2020, he has also received an excellent award for publication. Not only that, Dr. Ganeshan Chanwagavelu has his team has won 3 awards: the Gold Award, Best Award, and the Best Presenter Award in the International Innovation Arts Award, Malaysia. And his research interest is on the socio-economic and political development of Indians in Malaysia and also educational studies. We're very much happy to have you among us, sir, today. The session is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Risha. Can you hear me, Risha?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are every month, you are the key person for the program. Thank you very much for the introduction, Risha. And I would like to wish good evening to India, I guess, now around 6:30 p.m. 7 p.m. Malaysia, good night, selamat malam. And also, if anybody from United States, because they did the first speakers from United States, good morning. And to all my friends here, I think there are a few of my friends from Malaysia, okay? My colleague. And also, I would like to thank Dr. Frank Joyson, President of Lavender Tree Club, for organizing this virtual workshop. And also, Dr. Regine Silvez, President of Cape Comorin Trust, and also President of MIRHA, Malaysian Industrial Relations and Human Resource Association, Professor Dr. Balakrishnan. His slot will be after my slot. So today got 3 speakers. I think I have to cut short maybe for 40 minutes. If not, I will take around 1 hour. I'll try to talk for 40 minutes or 45 minutes. Then we'll hand over to Prof. Bala with this topic, a renowned speaker here. My topic today is on research method in historical studies, because from the day one, since Friday, I guess, Dr. Gaunia from USA was talking about quantitative, and then there are a few speakers, and just now, Dr. Sasireka was speaking about abstract, referencing, and so on. So my topic will be on historical research method. So I hope if there are there are participants from historical background, this will be a good platform for you. Or I think most participants are from different background, science, social sciences, languages, and also arts. So whatever it is, research is still a research. Doesn't matter whichever field we are from. Only thing, historical research method is a bit different from other research, although it's social science. Just now, Dr. Sasireka was speaking about referencing, how to do the MLA style, APA style. But for historical research, normally, we do referencing based on Chicago style, where we have footnote, a footnote, and the Chicago style reference is totally different from APA and so on. Okay, let me share my slides. Okay, Risha, can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me start. What is research? Just to refresh us, what is research all about? Because all of us here are research scholars, academicians, students, professors, and so on. So what is research? Research is a process of planning executing and investigating in order to find answers to the specific questions or objectives. In order to get a reliable answer to the questions, the investigation must be conducted in a systematic manner so that it is easier for others to understand the logic of and or be convinced about the result. Okay, this is basic knowledge about result. All of us know about this. I just want to refresh this. So what is research? It's about the purpose of inquiry and investigation. Research is systematic and methodological. Methodology is very important in historical research, no matter whatever research we are doing. Can increase knowledge, is replicable, or can be conducted later from other researchers, is when data are interpreted systematically, is done with a clear purpose. Okay, and the purpose of research can be summarized as follows. We can read through this. I don't want to explain a lot about this because my main topic is on historical research method. Okay, and also research is to explore and analyze more general issues, to construct or create a new procedure or system to explain a new phenomenon, a combination of any of the above. So normally people say research is a combination of the word. If we divide it into two, plus search, research is just to tell out what is research all about. Actually, it's more than that. Okay, let's look at historical research. What is historical research? Historical research is a methodology which is systematically collects data, objectively analyzes, describes, and interprets an event. Okay, history research are based on an event that happened in any country, in a place, and so on. The aim of historical research is to study past events and to predict their future course. Always remember, history don't. In historical research, we don't do research about the future. We do research about the past. What happened in the past and how it can give implication for the society, for the nation, for the country, and so on. So this is what all about. According to Birch and Liu, 2012, stated that historical research or historiography, it attempts to systematically recapture the complex nuances, the people, meaning, events, and even ideas of the past that have influenced and shaped the present. Whatever happened in the past, of course, people might be telling why we want to do research on about the past. Aspects, past event. It's very important because from the past we learn a lot of important things for us to prepare how we are now and for the future. So that's what actually all about. All right. Historical research is not used to control or manipulate variables like in other researches as well, like quantitative research and so on. In historical research, we don't have variables and we don't test anything. The researcher is responsible for objectively weighing the evidence and evaluating all statements concerning a particular event to reach a sound conclusion. All right. So this is not an easy job because in the conclusion part and in the writing part, it's very difficult for historians to write from the data they collect from the primary source. Okay, so the writing part is very important. Of course, historical research is entirely qualitative. When we talk about qualitative research, in historical research is totally different from normal qualitative research as well. All right. The process of historical research. The historical research procedure is similar. Actually, it's similar to that of other research methods. The methods, we must have methods, the process, and so on. It involves stating the problem, forming a research question, collecting data systematically, and evaluating the data objectively, validating the research question, and discussing the research findings. So this is the process which we can see in other researchers as other research in other field as well. Only thing here in history research, we don't come up with hypotheses and test the hypothesis. No, because in historical research, it's all about getting the primary sources and evaluate the primary source and give conclusion of a certain area that we are focusing on, like war, economic problem, labor issues, and so on. So actually, there are many topics that can be explored in historical research, which is not explored yet, which can be explored in the future. So for those students or any scholars who are doing historical research, they can explore a lot of topics out there which need to be get the sources. We explore, we do research, and then we document it. Okay, all right. In historical research, variables are not manipulated because it is impossible for researcher to change what has happened. What has happened had happened. Nothing can be changed. What we can do, we do the research and we come up with the conclusion and we get the information for us to analyze and then we prepare, okay, what's going to happen in the future or what we are supposed to. So that is where the learning process there in historical research, okay? So we are not going to change the event that had happened, but we can try to stop that kind of event to happen in the future, like war, for example, like war, okay? So, I mean, it's just an example, okay? What he can do is to objectively evaluate past events with systematic, rational, and scientific modes of thinking to understand what, where, why, and how an event occurred. All right, in historical research, the basic 5W plus 1H will play its part when we do our research in historical method, all right, or historical studies, all right? All right. Historical research involves few following steps. Number one, identify an ideal topic or research question. Now, we need to identify a topic like the other researchers as well. What topic that never been explored? Which topic that people never do research? So we must find the gap. Or maybe the topic might have been done by other researchers, but we are looking in different area, okay? Like world recession in 1930s. Maybe some researchers have done the topic on economic impact. So as a new researcher, we might be focusing on social impact in a country and so on. This can be done. Number two, conduct a background literature review. In any research audience, as we know, as a research scholar, literature review is very important. As for me, I feel like that. Doesn't matter whatever research we are doing. Through literature review, we can get the ideas, okay? We can explore, and then we can come up with the gap, the research gap, and then to start to analyze and also to come up with a topic that which never been done before. Literature review will give the researcher a lot of knowledge by reading materials, books, journals, articles, and whatever it is. Number three, refine the research ideas and questions. Number four, determine that historical methods will be the methods used. Historical method is not very complicated anyway. Like the other research, we have to find the research framework, the gap, the variables, and so on. Historical method, the most important thing is the sources, primary source and secondary source. And how we're going to explore, we can use interview method also in historical research, but depend on the topic we are doing. Okay. All right, let me continue. The other steps is to identify, number five, and locate primary and secondary data sources. When we come up with a topic or area of studies in historical research, the most important thing is to know whether we can get the sources to do this research, the primary sources, all right? Okay, the primary source is very important. If there is no primary sources for that particular topic, might as well just forget about the topic, okay? Because we don't want to get stuck in the process, because primary source is the main aspect in historical research. Number 6, evaluate the authenticity and accuracy of source materials. Here comes the external and internal criticism in historical research. Later, I will discuss about that. And then analyze the data and develop a narrative exposition of the findings. Okay. So data collection for historical research. How we collect data in historical research. In this context, literature review plays an important role in historical research. It's the main procedure used in historical research, literature review, and even in other research as well, because some students like PhD level, they don't really do literature review. That's why their research in the ongoing process cannot be say like a very quality one, because we need to have literature review. They have to explore a lot of things while they are doing the research. Literature review makes the historical research more meaningful, as it involves all kinds of research sources, regardless of whether they are in written, recorded, or electronic form. So that's what is very important, literature review. In addition, the process of literature review in historical research is conducted in a more in-depth manner through the identification, reference, and evaluation of the truth compared to other research methods. We want to find the truth. That's most important in the historical research. The facts is very important, the true facts. We are not creating story of an event. We are finding the truth, why this event happened, why this aspect is like this, why this problem, and so on. So literature review sources are the prime sources of information for historical research, because no other research instrument are used to collect data, because the important is the primary sources. The primary sources here, later I will show in the slide what are the primary sources. Apart from literature review sources, individuals involved in the past event being studied can be interviewed to collect live data. Information obtained from these individuals constitute primary sources that are equally important to information from original documentation. And there are two kinds of historical sources. This is very important for historian or history research method, and people are doing research in history. Okay, primary sources. What are primary sources? I think many of us know this. I mean, it's not an issue here, but anyway, it's to refresh back, and those who are not in this field, at least they know what is this all about. What is primary source? Primary source is first-hand evidence. It was there at the time of an event. Original documents and reports from the participants themselves, or direct observation of an event as it occurred. All right. Examples of primary sources are reports, official documents, government reports, speech by leaders, letters, original letters, legislation, court decisions, diaries, interview, artifacts, also statistical data, which has the data for certain event and so on, and British documents, for example, for those countries who have been occupied by ruled by British, they have British Colonial Office records, CO records, and so on. All right. So this is an example for primary sources. Secondary sources. What is secondary sources? It's actually to interpret original documents and gives background information about the topic of the research. Examples of secondary sources are articles, dictionaries, encyclopedias, books. Books is secondary source, journals, newspapers, biographies, films, tape recordings, etc. Newspapers can be primary source. If you are doing a research on a newspaper, the newspaper is a primary source. I will talk about this later because my PhD research is on Tamil newspapers in Malaysia. So I use the Tamil newspaper as the primary source. So that is the meaning here. All right. each historian brings a unique perspective to whatever is being studied. How a historian interprets information can depend on what information is available to the historian at the time, because interpretation is very important. Different historian will sometimes we have in the same in the same event will have different interpretation. So we must be very sure interpretations are right, true. How? Through facts, through the evidence, through the sources. In addition, historians past and present can influence what questions they will ask about a topic being studied. All historians can bring unique perspectives to subject matter, whichever subject matter, whichever topic they're doing. Actually, there are many topics which is not explored yet. We might be thinking these topics. No, actually, a lot of topics. For example, in India itself, a lot of topics are not explored yet. For those historians, history students, try to look any of the topic which is not explored, try to do the research on that topic and come up with the idea and document it so that the future generation, the younger generation will know about the event and know about the history of anything, history of mankind, history of the country, and so on. Okay, it's very important. It's very important actually. Okay, contents of historical research. Contents of historical research. Historical research studies an event and the continuing changes that happen in human life. It also researches related phenomena such as organizational development. In historical research, human characteristics such as religion, custom, belief, philosophy of life. Wait, hold on. Philosophy of life, language, and personal achievement are the topics of study. Actually, there are many topics. It can be social topics in social aspect, economic aspect, and so on. Okay, economic aspect, and many more topics. Normally, when we talk about historical research, we are always not running away from the three main aspects: social, economic, and politics. So when we explore social aspect, there are many social aspects. Same goes to politics, same goes to economic aspects. Okay, so it's all about human, what human doing. That's why the historical research people say you are studying about a nation. Who is the nation? The human in the nation is very important. So we are looking at a lot of aspects that happen in a country, in a particular place, in a particular district, in a particular area, and so on. All right. Organizational studies cover aspects such as organizational leadership style. If a researcher study about an organization, they can study about the leadership, membership of the organization, their activities, environment of the organization, movement, as well as history of an organization. Historical research could be carried out on an individual, a group of people, or the history of an organization or a place, if you want to study of an organization. All right. Historical research studies current and past event, actually past event, trying to present the characteristic and state the meaning of the events. Historical research is related to human activities. It's actually based on human activities and can be organizational events. Hence, it is related to various fields of studies. It can be in anthropology, psychology, architecture, linguistics, sociology, philosophy, and so on. It can be in this field, but the method will be different because it's based on historical method where you need to have primary sources and secondary sources. Although historical research studies are mainly conducted using qualitative data collection methods, some historical researchers like to use figures. You can use figures to support our explanation or conclusion. So we need figures, okay? But it's not actually quantitative research. we need figures to support like percentage of that, okay, population, number of population, and so on. So data are sometimes enumerated or illustrated in tables and figures. It helps readers to get a complete picture of events in a specific time lapse. Okay. Okay, I skip this one because I think I can go for. Okay, there are a few sources of historical research. Actually, this one all is actually included in the primary and secondary sources. All right, primary and secondary sources. So I can skip this one. Handling historical data. How to handle historical data? I mean, the primary and secondary sources just now normally contains rich data that comes from various sources. If a researcher researching the life of a former world leader, data sources for this study could be formal and informal. If a researcher is studying on, let's say, Mahatma Gandhi, for example, or Jawaharlal Nehru, India, okay, it's about biography. So what sources we need? We need to have formal and informal letters, memoirs, reports, transcripts of speech, memorandums, photographs, memoir, biography, video clip, audio recordings, and so on, and also interview. We are not going to interview the leader. If he's dead, that's it. We're going to interview the other leaders who have stayed with him, the family members, and so on. This is if we are studying about biography. If you are studying about an event, that is different. If you are studying about an organization, for example, a political party, if you are studying a political party, so the concept will be different. Okay, the concept will be different, and we still can use interview and so on. The most important is the primary sources. Okay, to keep track of the data from all these sources, the researcher will need to organize them for easy access. Okay, it's very important. Must organize for easy access. The data should also be labeled. Historical data can be arranged according to objectives of subtopics of study in chronological order or based on the importance of events that occur. So we need to be very systematic, even in any other research, right? We cannot mess up the things or the sources or all the materials that we collect. So we can label it in our own way. Okay, you can find your own way actually. As long as the data is there and there is some sources reference for you to when you do the writing, it's very important. Okay, how to analyze and discuss the results in historical research? How to analyze and discuss? Okay, sources like in quantitative research, you collect data, you analyze through statistical packages, whatever, and then you come up with conclusion and you discuss, analyzing part. In other qualitative method, maybe we are using interview method, the process is different. In historical research, the analyzing part is actually data must be analyzed based on scientific methodologies to determine their originality. This is called external criticism. And accuracy, this is called internal criticism. So what is external criticism is, refers to the authenticity of the document that we gather, that we collect. So this is very important to make sure that the documents are original. Internal criticism is based on accuracy. It's actually applied to check the credibility of the document, whether the contents given in the document can be believed or not. So this depends on the historian to determine. Okay, so it's a long process. So that's why they need supportive document from other sources as well, which is called just now the secondary sources, books and so on. Okay, plus the primary sources. 4 factors must be taken into consideration when determining the accuracy of the source of information, as below. First, knowledge and efficiency of the author. time period between the time of recording and the time an event happened, motive of author, any bias in views and self-interest or writing influenced by emotion about the research, consistency of data. Any research, we cannot be biased, no matter whatever research. So we must make sure of this. So these are the 4 processes there to make sure that the data, the sources are accurate and also credibility of the document or the originality of the document. Historical research also should be connected mainly with historiography. Historiography. What is historiography? In Bahasa Melayu, in Malay language, they call it, I can share the Malay language. History in Malay is sejarah. In Tamil, of course, we call it warlaru. Yes or no? Warlaru. Historiography is pensejarahan. Okay, it means interpreting historical events and relating them to other variables in an attempt to obtain the meaning of the event. This is historiography, the writing part. Okay, how we connect to the other variables in an attempt to obtain the meaning of the event. We are not testing variables. Okay, we are not testing hypotheses like quantitative research. We are relating them and get the conclusion with reliability and also the truth, the facts. Because history, one important key characteristic of history is true facts. Okay, true facts. The variables are, for example, social influence, culture, development, achievement, and other values of the event. It depends on the topic we are doing actually. If it's an event, it's like that. If it's about an association, okay, that's different. If it's about an individual, different. Okay, but historiography process must be there for all these aspects. Okay, all right. If we are to do historical research, we must seek not only to identify the chain of events, okay, the chronological part that comprise history, but also to understand the meaning of the event. We cannot only go for, okay, this year this thing happened, this time this thing happened, this year this thing happened. Besides that, we must understand the meaning of the event. So it's not easier to do historical research. In fact, because as what I can see, or most historians or most history researchers, writing part is very difficult actually, because we are going to write from the sources that we get, primary sources. The primary sources are like, let's say, records. For example, British records. It's only records here and there and there. So how are we going to analyze? And how are we going to write? This is very critical part here, and must use our critical mind to think, to write critically and objectively. Historical research must be objective. It's not subjectivity, it's objectivity. That's why in history, objectivity is very important, all right? Objectivity. When the research is concerned with historiography, the findings of the research becomes attractive and fascinating to the readers. Then we have to write. It's like a writing story, but it's not fiction story. It's a true story. So in this aspect, language plays important part when we write. How we use the language, and when we come up with the research, the document, when people read, they must understand all the event that we wrote in the research using proper language, whichever language we are using to write our research or thesis. All right. My research, PhD research, is entirely in Malay language, because in Malaysia that is a must. Okay. So of course, we can write in English also, but I write in Malay. So that's why it's very important how we use the language to, even in other research, the language is very important. Some scholars, some students, I mean PhD students, they don't write. If you don't write, there is no research. You have done a lot of research, you got the data. If you never write, how to produce the research, how to complete your thesis, how to get your PhD or master's level. That's why most supervisors are crazy about it. They ask the student to write. Of course, this is the process where we go through. All right, okay. it must be kept in mind that the historical research process is not merely statistical analysis. It requires logical and rational analysis of the sources and data. Critical thinking is not creative thinking in historical research. It's critical and very hot, higher order thinking. Okay, thus the researcher must avoid being influenced emotionally or pandering to his self-interest to ensure that he presents objective conclusion of his study. That's why objective in history is very important. Not objective of the research, objectivity. Historical research are based on objectivity of an event. We write with objective. Normally people say history, if you separate this word, his story or her story. When this word comes from the father of history, always people call him the historian, father of history. So he's the one, Harry Daughters, who did his research during the 5th century in Persian War, where he about Persian War, he went to the place and do interview and then get data, everything. And when he wrote his research, he named the research as history. That's why the word history comes from. That's why he's actually writing a story, his story, history. But his story is not fiction story, or we call it like just a storytelling aspect. It's a true story. Harry Daughters' story is true story. Okay, so that is what history, that the word came from. Okay, my first part of my presentation over regarding what is history research, the content, the primary source, and so on, is a basic understanding for us. Those who are not doing history research, it's okay. Just for understanding of to us of what is history research all about. Now I'm going to show about my research, my PhD research on historical studies. I did in University of Science, Malaysia, History Department, Department of History. My supervisor is a Tamilian, Dr. K. Anbalagan. I completed in 2015. It took me around 6 years because I was a part-time student. I'm not a full-time student. If I'm a full-time student, maybe I would have finished in 3 years. Because of part-time, it took me 5 years to complete the research and graduated in the 6th year. All right, this is my topic. This is my topic. The top one is in the yellow color is in Malay. Akbar Tamil dan pemikiran tentang kaum India di tanah Melayu from the year 1946 to 1960. In English, it's about Tamil newspapers and their thinking or their thought on Indians in Malaya or the issues, because this topic was changed many times, and the final part they asked me to come up to put this topic. The earlier topic was political thinking of Tamil newspapers about Indians in Malaya. After I complete the Viva, in the Viva they commented, they say throw the word political, just remain like this. So it can be Tamil newspapers and the issues of Indians actually. Actually, their thinking here is actually the thinking of the newspaper. Okay, let me explain later. So this is submitted to the University of Science, Malaysia for the award of degree of Doctor of Philosophy in History. So this is my cover of my topic, my thesis. My thesis. That's the title in Malay. Akbar Tamil. Akbar Tamil means Tamil newspapers. Pemikiran is thinking, thought. Tentang kaum India, never mind, we learn Malay word now. Tentang kaum India is about Indians. Tanah Melayu is Malaya because until 1963, we still call Malaya. After independence, 1957 until 1963. After 1963, 16 September 1963, the word Malaya changed to Malaysia, because Malaysia was formed comprising the Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore. And 1965, Singapore separated from Malaysia and they formed their own country in 1965. That is a historical part in Malaysia. That's why we call it, even people in India still calling Malaya. Actually, now it's Malaysia after 1963. All right, this is the abstract. Just now, Dr. Sasireka was talking about abstract. All right. I was asked in my university just to do the abstract for one page. The abstract was in Malay. This is the translation part in English. The aim of this research is to study the thinking of Tamil newspapers and their role on issues related to Indians in Malaya from 1946 to 1960. The assessment is made by focusing on 3 Tamil newspapers. I focus only on 3 Tamil newspapers because during that period, we have a huge number of Tamil newspapers. I can't be doing research on all these papers. So I only focus on 3 papers, that is Tamil Nation, Tamil Murasu, and Jananayagam. Okay, never mind. This is the abstract. This is the content of my research. Normally in historical research, our chapters can go until 6-7 chapters. At least a minimum of 5 for PhD level. But normally for PhD level, people do 6 chapters, 7. There are also 8 chapters I've seen. Basically, 7 chapters is just nice. Mine is 6 chapters. Actually, in historical research, I don't know about other countries. I mean, in Malaysia, in University Science Malaysia, this is the method, this is the procedure. In chapter 1, we discuss about the background of the research question, research objective, research scope. Literature review comes in chapter 1, not like the other research. It will go into chapter 2. And the significance of research methodology, and the chapters. Chapters means how I divide the chapters. So this is chapter 1. My chapter 2 is this one, Tamil newspapers in Malaya, the title of the chapter. So each chapter, we do introduction. And then must have subtopics in each chapter. It can go until more than 5 or 6. It depends on what we're going to research. So in this second chapter, I discuss about the involvement of Indians in the publication of newspapers in Malaya during that period, because the influence came from the journalists from India who migrate to Malaya, and then they start newspapers in Malaya. So the Indians in Malaya get involved in publication from the influence of the journalists from India. In fact, because when Indians migrate, especially the Tamilians from Tamil Nadu migrate to Malaya, so there are many kind of migration and many people migrate. So some of them are journalists. The third subtopic is I was discussing about history of Tamil newspapers in Malaya. So I have to go back and search for these documents. Although my topic is on the issues, but in historical research, we must go back and connect. They must have an interrelation for the topic. You cannot straight away go for the issues of Indians in the Tamil newspapers. We must know how these Tamil newspapers came about, how it was published. And background of the selected Tamil newspapers here is, I was focusing on 3 Tamil newspapers. Tamil Nation, which was started in 1924, and it ceased publication 5 years ago. It stopped publication. Okay, no more. Tamil Murasu was started in 1935, and it is still published in Singapore because Singapore was part of Malaya. So this paper is still published in Singapore. And one more paper is Jananayagam. In Tamil, in English, is Jananayagam means what? Democracy, right? This paper was published only for 5 years, 1945 to 1950, and stopped publication. So I focus on these 3 Tamil newspapers, and chapter 2, there is a conclusion. And chapter 3, where I discuss about politics of Indians in Malaya based on the discussion in the newspaper. Actually, what I did was I was only looking at the editorial in the Tamil newspaper, because every newspaper, doesn't matter English, whatever paper, we have editorial column every day. The editorial column discuss many issues every day, different issues. So the thinking of the newspaper is actually the editorial. What the editor write in the editorial is the thought of the paper for that day, what issue. They will discuss about many issues, social issues, economy, education, so on. So in chapter 3, I was looking at political issues of Indians in Malaya based on the 3 Tamil newspapers. So the subtopics are political awareness, how this political awareness came in Indian mind in Malaya, and formation of the first political party in Malaysia at that time, Malayan Indian Congress, now it's Malaysian Indian Congress, and the development of struggles of MIC. I was looking at the issues in the newspapers based on this topic. So I have to read the Tamil newspaper to get the issues and then discuss, analyze, and come up with the conclusion. Okay? Actually, it's not easy because I was reading the paper in Tamil and I have to translate in Malay and write in Malay. So it's not an easy process, and I'm not a Tamil educated background. I'm from a Malay educated background, but I can read Tamil. That's why I can do this thesis. If you can't read Tamil, you can't do the thesis because it's about Tamil newspaper. Okay? All right? Okay, this is the chapter 3. Chapter 4, the issues on citizenship of Indians in Malaya, and also the Tamil ethnic awareness. Citizenship issues is a big issue in Malaya during that period of time, during British rule, until British left Malaya in 1957 when we get the independence. Citizenship issue is very important because all the Indians are migrated from India, mostly from South India, Tamil Nadu, and other part of India. So when they came to Malaya, they don't have citizenship. Citizenship was started in 1946 after the Second World War. British came back to Malaya. So that's the time where the Indians in Malaya, who are already born in Malaya, are fighting for citizenship in Malaya, so that the Indians who live in Malaya must get citizenship in order to live in this country, in Malaya, in Malaysia, all right? So I was looking at the issues in the Tamil newspaper, how this Tamil newspaper played their part in this issue, and how that Malayan Indian Congress plays its part for citizenship issues of Indians. And one more subtopic is Tamil ethnic awareness in Malaysia. Because majority of Indians in Malaysia are Tamilians, Tamils. So how this awareness should be instilled in the mind of the Tamilians in Malaya. So one of the medium platform is Tamil newspapers. So these Tamil newspapers played the part how to develop the Tamil ethnic awareness in the aspect of the subtopic there in the bracket is Tamil language and literature, the unity of Tamils. And one more important aspect, as we have Tamil festival every year in Malaysia, except for these past 2 years because of this pandemic. It was started in 1952, Tamil festival. Or in Tamil, we call it Tamilar Tirunal. And in Malay, it's Perayan Tamil, where we have after Pongal, every state in Malaysia, the Tamilians in every state will organize festival, and they will have games, traditional games, events, and many more things. So these are the issues was talked in the Tamil newspapers. I highlight this issue and discuss. So that is chapter 4. Chapter 5. Wait, hold on. Chapter 5 is the socio-economic issues of Indians in Malaya. That's introduction. One aspect is Tamil education in Malaya. So I focus on the Tamil school problems, parents' role, teachers' issues, and few educational reports. One important is Raja report. Okay, this is social issue. One more important aspect, social issues among Indians in Malaya during the time is toddy drinking, alcohol, toddy drinking habits in the estates, which gives a lot of problems, social problems. So these Tamil newspapers was discussing about it and always always critique the Indians and give awareness, give the sense of ask them to think to avoid drinking toddy, which will give a lot of impact to the family and so on. This one aspect. One more important aspect I touch economic issue is the problems of Indian laborers. When you talk about labor, Prof. Bala is waiting after this. He's the expert of Indian labor issues in Malaysia. So during that time, Indians who came to Malaya mostly are laborers working in the plantation, estate, rubber tappers. So the problems that time was wage problem, union, workers' union, and living condition. So these are the issues highlighted in the newspapers to the government during that time, British government until 1957 and so on, to overcome these problems. So I was highlighting these issues in my thesis based on the reading in the Tamil newspapers, how these Tamil newspapers plays their part. It was all discussed in the editorial column in the newspaper. I don't look at other aspects in the Tamil newspaper because newspapers is got a lot of news. So I was just focusing on the editorial column because that is the thinking of Tamil newspaper. So these are chapter 5 and chapter 6 is my conclusion, and my bibliography reference example. This is sample. My primary sources are the 3 Tamil newspapers: Tamil Nation, Tamil Murasu, Jananayagam. And then I use government official documents. CO files is colonial office files. BMA files is British military administration files. MU files is Malayan Union file, not football team Manchester United file, no. Malayan Union files. And then government and other official reports. And secondary sources are books, journals, academic thesis, magazines. Okay. So this is the overall of my thesis, 6 chapters based on this topic just now. This topic. Okay, anyway, let me continue a bit, 2 or 3 minutes before I stop. There is one more thesis I can show which was done in India, in Tamil Nadu, this one. Okay, this is a PhD topic. Topic on social transformation approach regarding the leader approach of the rule of K. Kamaraj Nadar in Tamil Nadu, the kingmaker of Indian politics. Okay, he was the chief minister, right? So during 1954 to 1963, this thesis was written by N. Sivakumar, Doctor of Philosophy in History, Department of History at Government Arts College, Tiruvarur, Tamil Nadu, March 2013. So we can look at its content. I searched from the Google and the thesis was there. Full thesis, I download, so I get some ideas. This is the thesis, and this is the content in the thesis, like mine just now. So we can see how the content is. It's slightly same actually. Only thing I never put the subtopics there. Introduction, and then chapter 1, a brief personal and political biography, because this is on biography, but the contribution of Kamaraj in Tamil Nadu, biography of Kamaraj. Chapter 2, educational reforms of Kamaraj's rule. Chapter 3, upliftment of depressed class people. And then chapter 4, development of irrigation, agriculture and industries in Tamil Nadu, not overall in India. Chapter 5, rural development and women empowerment, and conclusion. So we have chapter 5, actually it's mainly like chapter 6 because introduction is considered in one chapter, okay? And also conclusion. So this is the thesis by N. Sivakumar in India. All right. So I think that's all for my presentation. I hope the audience here have benefited some knowledge here, even you're not from history background. Thank you very much. Terima kasih, nandri, and vanakkam to all of you. And I can stop sharing here. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, Prof. Bala, how are you? So if there is any question.
Fine, Doctor.
Hello, Dr. Ganeshan.
Yes, Dr. Nadarajan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for the informative session which you had shared, and it was a totally different perspective how to conduct a historical aspect of research. And I just wanted to find out, assuming a same type of research is being applied at 2 places, and normally it is being said as replication. To what extent the replication contributes towards plagiarism? Thank you.
Same topic.
Same topic, same scope of research is applied at two different continents. Where the
Two different
respondents-
continents.
the respondents are very different, and the socio-economic is very different.
Oh, if if two different continent, if in historical research, I
Two
think
different part, entirely different part.
okay,
But then
two
the
different
scope is-
part. I
scope
think
is the
that
same.
is not. If that is not a problem because maybe the issues are different in that two different part or two different area. Although let's say socio-economic problem, for example, socio-economic problem in a particular area and slightly same socio-economic problem in a different area. Let's say in Malaysia, for example, we can see like in Perak, state of Perak, Indians in the state of Perak, okay? And there is another researcher is doing on social issues, on certain social issues in the state of Penang, for example. It's not an issue because two different area actually, when you are talking about two different area. But if you are looking at the same topic, same area, what we can see the differentiate of the time frame, because in historical research we have time frame. Let's say like my research just now, 1946 to 1960. In all historical research, we will have time frame there because we don't want the researcher to go beyond the time because history don't do the research about the future. Okay, we do about the past, and that is also some important aspect here. What I get to know from university science actually, we can do research based on the past 25 years and below. Past 25 years and below. Okay, not the past 5 years and below because we don't have much sources to do research. The past 25 years and below during we can do any research on any topic. Let's say in the 16th century, because I got a professor in USM, a Malay professor Ahmad Delani, he did on trade and shipping during the Malacca Sultanate during 15th and 16th century. Just imagine how we can get the data. So in historical research, it depends on what we are doing. If you are doing on India, my supervisor, his master's research was on Indian history. Okay, Congress Ministry in Tamil Nadu during the Congress rule, 1930s. So he went to India, Tamil Nadu for 1 year to collect all the data, all the documents, and so on. Come back and then write the thesis. Okay, that is very important historical research. If you are doing about Japanese history, we must go to Japan. I was doing on this newspaper, Tamil newspaper, but the Tamil Murasu, which I highlighted just now, was only kept in Singapore, was only kept in National University of Singapore and Archive of Singapore. So I traveled to Singapore to get the papers because the issues, the newspaper is in Singapore. In Malaysian Archive in KL, the edition is not, not complete. So I have to go to Singapore and look for the paper. I went there for 2 or 3 weeks to National University of Singapore and also Archive of Singapore. And that paper is still published, but I was looking at 1946 to 60. So I have to dig up the issues. So I have to use microfilm because most of the papers are in the microfilm. And doing research, getting information from microfilm is not easy. You have to sit in front of this one, like a computer, right? For historians, they know. So this is one. Actually, Dr. Rajan, what you're asking, I truly agree with you. How about plagiarism comes into effect? Because my topic, I was looking on the different time frame and the thought of the Tamil newspaper. There are few research was done in this topic, but in a different perspective. Okay, the time frame is different for master's level, but the time frame they are looking only social aspect or only one aspect. I was looking at few aspects here. That's why in my Viva, my examiner was asking me, what is the gap for your research? Because many of the issues about Indians already discussed. I told in the Viva, the gap here is I was looking at the thought in the editorial, and the issues are totally different. The time frame are different. So we can conclude that it's a new topic, because in any research you must do a new topic. That's why we find a gap. I hope I answer your question, Dr. Rajan.
Thank you, Dr. Ganeshan.
I know you are entirely IT, information technology. So it's totally different. Okay, any other question from the audience?
Doctor, very simple
Yes, Prof.
brief. Okay, do you think that all research that you're talking, historical, science, non-science, is it same or different? Is it why they call PhD? Why didn't call PhD history or PhD chemistry, or why they just call history or just PhD? So how you answer me very briefly? Why only 3 words? PhD.
Prof, PhD is a degree, Doctor of Philosophy. It's a degree, right? It's a degree, like Bachelor of Arts, Master of Arts. So when we talk about what field of study, then we can see the content, what field of study. Either PhD, okay, people will be asking, Prof, you did PhD in what? So I have to tell, PhD in history. So when you did PhD in management, human resource.
Yeah. I know, Doctor. I just asked the question.
Yeah, I know. The difference
When
why
I
they
was
call
in
PhD, because
when in Australia, we had changed the degree. Last time they put PhD in management, PhD in human resource, and the Senate already decided just PhD, because PhD is the high level. No other degree after this.
Yeah. Because
it's
in
like
degree,
high order thinking. Only few people can do PhD. Not everybody can do PhD. That's why I'm asking this question, that maybe people think that, oh, PhD like so easy. No, actually no. That's why I of course that field of study different. The PhD
field of study is different.
Yeah,
Field of study is different.
True.
We must have differences in field of study. If not all, PhD is a general PhD. That's another problem. We can't be expert in everything, right?
When you say something, when you explain, not that easy process. I understand. Everybody gone through the tough. That's why when people think that Dr. Kenny, but you went through to the archive. I understand when you go to archive London to see people to get the data. That's why PhD is a PhD. Cannot comparable. If you cannot talk
compromise
PhD, something wrong. If you cannot talk, something wrong with you. You are not doctor anymore.
The process is any field in PhD. The process is same. Okay, because as what we are looking at, data collection, introduction, literature review, methodology, this one all we have to go through. Only thing when we do the field of study like anthropology, we have to go to the ground. Okay, we have to go to the ground. Alex dari mana, Sarawak kah? Alex dari Sabah ke Sarawak?
Sarawak.
Sarawak.
No, because Dr.
Sarawak. Iban kah? Iban ke Alex? Iban?
Ya, Iban.
Ya, nama berita.
Bagus.
Dr.
Okay.
Dr. Alex just got a doctorate.
Very good. Congratulations.
Yes,
okay.
Last month.
All right. Just now I was talking about anthropology research. When I was in Sarawak, when I was teaching in interior, there was one Indian girl from Peninsular Malaysia doing PhD at University of one university in UK. I'm not very sure. She was doing on Orang Ukit in Sarawak, Mr. Alexander. Orang Ukit, UKIT, Orang Ukit in Sarawak.
That's nomad.
Yeah, the place is near Blaga area. So when I was there, this girl came all the way from Kuala Lumpur to do the research field work in Blaga, and it's very interior part. So that is the field of study which requires the researcher go to the ground. Like Prof was doing our labor human resource, go to the ground. This is what actually the exciting part of doing research. All right, we depend on the field of study. We go to the ground, look for the information, look for the materials, and then we do the research and come up with the documentation. Writing is very important. In fact, the final part is writing. Writing is really important. Okay, anyway, happy to see you, Mr. Alex.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining this session today. Hope you will join until Tuesday. We got another 2 sessions, Monday and Tuesday. Any other question? when I was doing my research on the Tamil newspaper, of course, people are asking why you are looking at past newspapers. What's the point? It's all past story. It's all past. I say past is very important. Past is the one which determine the present situation and the future. We can't forget the past. That's why history research are based on past events, past whatever happened in our life, in a country, and so on. Okay, like war, World War II. Many people have done the research. Recession during 1930, 1931. One of the professor in University of Science Malaysia did his PhD on the impact of 1930s recession in Java Island, Pulau Jawa, Indonesia. And that topic, similar topic, was done by another guy in University of Science Malaysia, was doing on impact on economic recession in West Malaysia. So look at it, two different places. So we want to know what is there, the content. So that's the what actually about.